Let's be honest, people can be frustrating. Someone cuts you off in traffic. A coworker makes a snide remark. A family member pushes your buttons just because they know how. And before you even realize it, you're tense, you're irritated, you're angry. Again, it happens so fast. One moment you're fine, the next you're caught in a storm of emotions you didn't ask for. But here's the truth most people never learn. No one makes you angry. Not really. The Stoics knew this over 2,000 years ago. They understood that the problem isn't out there. It's in how we interpret what's out there. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's the key. That's the secret. When you master your mind, you become untouchable. The insults, the provocations, the disappointments, they no longer control you. Because the moment you realize that your peace is an internal affair, the world loses its power over you. In this episode, we'll uncover 8 powerful Stoic principles that will help you stay calm, centered, and unshaken, no matter what people say or do. This isn't about suppressing your emotions. It's about understanding them, reclaiming your power, and walking through life with the kind of quiet strength that nothing and no one can touch. So take a breath, let it go, and let's begin the journey to mastering your emotions. One thought, one moment, one principle at a time. 1. Understand emotions and control. Most people think anger is something automatic, that it just happens. That it's some uncontrollable fire that bursts out when someone wrongs us. But that's a lie we've been told, and a lie we've learned to believe. The truth: anger isn't instinctive, it's conditioned. It's something we've practiced, something we've absorbed from the world around us. The Stoics taught that emotions don't arise from events themselves. They come from how we interpret those events. In other words, the thing that made you angry didn't actually make you angry. You interpreted it in a way that triggered anger. That interpretation is the real source. And if that's true, then here's the power in that. You can change it. Imagine you're walking down the street and someone bumps into you without saying a word. One person might instantly react, shouting, tense, assuming it was disrespect. But another might brush it off, thinking maybe they're in a rush or they didn't notice. Same event, completely different emotional response. Why? Because the emotion wasn't in the event, it was in the story. When you realize this, everything changes. Because now, no one can control your peace unless you let them. They can say what they want, do what they want, but your emotional response, that's yours. That's sacred ground. It's not easy, I know. We've all had moments where we snapped, where we let someone get under our skin. But the path to mastery starts with awareness. The next time you feel anger rising, pause and ask yourself, what story am I telling myself right now? Is it, they're trying to disrespect me? Or, I always get treated this way? Or, I can't let them get away with this? These stories light the fuse, but you don't have to ignite it. Marcus Aurelius said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. That power is yours. And once you accept that truth, your emotions stop owning you. You stop reacting to life like a puppet on strings. This is the foundation of emotional control. It's not about suppressing anger, it's about seeing through it, understanding where it comes from, and realizing that you are not at the mercy of your feelings. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, remember, you don't need to engage. You don't need to react. You can choose peace. You can choose control. And in that choice, you become free. 2. The power of perception. Perception is everything. It's the lens through which we experience the world. And the quality of that lens determines how we feel, how we act, and how we respond. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They didn't waste time trying to change other people or control unpredictable circumstances. Instead, they mastered the one thing that actually mattered: their perception. When something happens, an insult, a betrayal, a rude comment, we think the event itself caused our anger or hurt. But if that were true, then everyone would react the same way to the same event. And they don't. Some people brush it off, others explode. So what's the difference? The story they attach to it. Epictetus said it plainly. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them. It's not the thing, it's the meaning you give to the thing. If someone criticizes you, do you see it as an attack, a threat, a personal failure, or do you see it as noise, a projection of their own insecurity, a moment that doesn't define you? The moment you shift your perception, the emotion tied to it dissolves. What once made you angry now seems irrelevant. What once upset you becomes neutral. That's not apathy, it's power. I remember a time when someone I deeply respected criticized my work in front of others. My first instinct was to feel ashamed, embarrassed, even angry. But then I caught myself. I paused. I asked, what's really happening here? Was this about me, or was this about them? Were they trying to help me improve? Were they projecting their own pressure onto me? As soon as I stepped back and shifted my perception, the emotion lost its grip. I didn't need to defend myself. I didn't need to prove anything. I just listened, learned what I could, and let the rest go. That's the power of perception. It creates distance. It gives you space between stimulus and response. And in that space, you reclaim control. So here's the challenge. Every time you feel triggered, pause and question the lens. Ask yourself, is there another way to see this? And more importantly, does this perception serve me or does it sabotage me? Because your emotional world is shaped not by what happens, but by how you see what happens. You can't always control events, but you can always control how you interpret them. And once you take hold of that lens, once you begin filtering life through clarity instead of reactivity, you'll discover a strength few people ever tap into. The strength to stay calm in chaos, to stay centered when others unravel, and to remain untouched by the noise of the world. 3. Expectations. Create frustration. If there's one silent saboteur of peace, it's expectation. We expect people to be kind. We expect them to listen, to understand, to treat us the way we treat them. And when they don't, we get angry, disappointed, hurt. Not because of what they did, but because they didn't fit the picture we painted in our minds. That's the trap. Expectations set us up for pain. We create an invisible script for how the world should behave, and then we punish ourselves when reality refuses to follow it. The Stoics knew this well. They believed that freedom, real emotional freedom, begins when we stop demanding that the world meet our expectations and start accepting it as it is. Epictetus once said, "When you are offended at any man's fault, turn to yourself and study your own failings. Then you will forget your anger." It's a brutal kind of honesty, because it forces you to stop blaming others and look inward. Why am I so upset? Was it because of what they did, or because I expected something they were never obligated to give me in the first place? Think about how often frustration comes from assuming someone should know better, or treat you differently, or act a certain way. But what if you drop that expectation entirely? What if you approached every interaction with the understanding that people are who they are, not who you want them to be? You'd feel lighter, less reactive, free. I remember once being disappointed by someone close to me. Again, they made a promise they didn't keep, and I felt the usual surge of frustration. But then I caught myself. Why am I angry? Because I expected them to be consistent, to follow through. But that wasn't who they were. It never had been. My frustration wasn't about them. It was about the false narrative I kept holding on to. Once I let go of that expectation, I let go of the frustration too. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you become cold or detached. It means you stop tying your peace to other people's behavior. It means you understand that people are unpredictable, flawed, and human, and your peace can't be at the mercy of that chaos. Letting go of expectations doesn't make you weaker. It makes you stronger, because it means you're no longer constantly reacting to a world that refuses to follow your rules. You move through life with more grace, more resilience, more clarity. You don't get thrown off by every broken promise or careless word, because you never built your inner calm on something so fragile in the first place. So the next time someone disappoints you, pause. Ask yourself, did they really hurt me? Or did I hurt myself by expecting something they were never capable of giving? That shift alone can dissolve a lifetime of unnecessary anger. Let go of assumptions. Accept people for who they are, and you'll find a peace that no one can take from you. 4. Recognize emotional triggers. Anger rarely shows up out of nowhere. It's almost always the echo of something deeper, a wound, a memory, a past experience that still lives beneath the surface. And if you don't take the time to understand what triggers your anger, you'll keep reacting the same way over and over again without ever knowing why. Most people walk through life on autopilot. Someone says something and boom, instant reaction. The heart races, the voice rises, the temperature spikes. But what really happened? Was the comment truly that offensive, or did it hit a nerve that's already sensitive? That's the thing with emotional triggers. They're personal, and they're powerful. The Stoics, especially Marcus Aurelius, practiced a technique called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. They trained their minds to anticipate hardship, disrespect, discomfort, so they wouldn't be caught off guard. They knew that the best way to stay calm wasn't to avoid triggers. It was to recognize them ahead of time and be ready. Maybe your trigger is being ignored, or being criticized, or feeling like you're not in control. These responses didn't just form overnight. They've been shaped by years of experience, childhood patterns, betrayals, disappointments, beliefs you picked up along the way. But just because they're old doesn't mean they have to own you. When you start identifying your triggers, you create space. That space is everything. It's the pause between the moment something provokes you and the moment you respond. And in that pause, you have a choice. React blindly or respond wisely. I remember a time when I used to get triggered whenever someone questioned my decisions. I felt attacked, even if they meant no harm. But the more I examined it, the more I realized it wasn't about them. It was about me. Somewhere along the line, I equated being questioned with being disrespected. Once I understood that connection, I could start to change it. The next time it happened, I paused, I breathed, I reminded myself, this isn't an attack, it's just feedback. And just like that, the emotional fire faded. This is how you reclaim power over your reactions, not by pretending you're unaffected, but by understanding why you feel what you feel. Awareness is the first step. Once you can name the pattern, you can break it. So here's a practice. Every time you feel anger rising, stop and ask yourself, what exactly triggered this? What story am I replaying? What wound is this poking at? You'll be surprised how quickly clarity returns when you get curious instead of reactive. And when you begin preparing for life's inevitable frustrations, not by resisting them, but by expecting them, you become unshakable. That's the Stoic way. Not to be immune to emotion, but to be master of it. 5. Embrace the principle of indifference. At first glance, the word indifference sounds cold, harsh, almost uncaring. But to the Stoics, indifference wasn't about apathy. It was about power. It meant choosing what deserves your energy and what doesn't. It meant refusing to hand over your peace to things outside your control. When people disrespect you, ignore you, talk behind your back, How do you usually respond? Most people get angry, defensive, hurt, but the Stoic doesn't flinch. The Stoic understands a simple truth. If it's outside your control, it's not worth your suffering. You see, emotional chaos begins the moment you attach your inner peace to outer noise. The moment you start needing everyone's approval. The moment you let every insult or slight disturb your center. But when you adopt the principle of indifference, you stop reacting to everything. You become selective, intentional, calm. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the core of indifference. You don't ignore the world. You simply stop letting it dictate how you feel. You draw a firm line between what belongs to you, your thoughts, your actions, your values, and what doesn't. The rest, let it go. Imagine walking through a crowded room full of noise, chaos, and criticism, but inside, you're still untouched. Not because you don't hear it, but because you've trained yourself not to absorb it. That's indifference, not blindness, not detachment, but emotional discipline. I remember a moment when I was falsely accused of something. My name was dragged into drama that had nothing to do with me. The old version of me would have exploded, defended myself, lashed out, tried to control the narrative, but instead, I remembered what mattered. I remembered what I could control. I said what was true, once, clearly, and then I let it go. No over-explaining, no emotional spiral, just peace. And you know what happened? The storm passed. It always does. Because when you stop feeding the fire, it burns out on its own. The principle of indifference doesn't mean you don't care about anything. It means you care more about your peace, your purpose, your clarity, than about petty provocations or other people's chaos. Start practicing this today. When someone cuts you off in traffic, don't react. When someone makes a passive-aggressive comment, don't take the bait. Just breathe. Remind yourself, this isn't mine to carry. And move on. The less you react to what doesn't matter, the more powerful you become in what does. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. That's freedom. Master your reactions. There's a powerful truth most people never fully grasp. You don't control what happens, but you always control how you respond. Your reactions are not reflexes written in stone. They are choices. And once you realize that, you step into a level of self-mastery that very few ever reach. It's easy to say someone made you angry or pushed you too far, but no one truly makes you anything. What happens is this: an event occurs, and in a fraction of a second, your mind assigns meaning to it. That meaning creates emotion. That emotion triggers a reaction. But if you slow it down, even slightly, you'll see that space, that gap, and in that space lies your power. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And it's true. Most of our suffering comes not from the moment itself, but from how we mentally exaggerate it, replay it, and react to it. One comment becomes a catastrophe. One disagreement becomes a personal attack. But all of that, all of it, lives in the imagination. The Stoics train themselves to pause, to observe the rising emotion, to examine it, and then to respond, not from impulse, but from intention. Because every reaction shapes your future. Every angry word, every rash decision, every emotional outburst has a consequence. There was a time in my life when I didn't understand this. I thought reacting quickly made me strong, made me sharp, but I was wrong. It didn't make me powerful. It made me predictable, easy to provoke, easy to control. The moment I started learning to pause, to breathe, to observe, I began to regain control. Not just over my reactions, but over my life. When someone provokes you, the real test isn't whether you can fight back. It's whether you can stay still, Stay calm and respond on your terms, not theirs. The person who angers you controls you. The moment you respond from impulse, you give away your power. So how do you master your reactions? Start small. When you feel irritation rise, pause. Don't speak. Don't act. Just observe. Name what you're feeling. Ask yourself, is this helpful? Is this necessary? Is this how I want to show up? Even a 3-second delay can change everything. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be conscious. The more you practice, the more automatic that pause becomes. And soon, you'll find yourself unbothered by things that used to ruin your entire day. That's mastery. Not in controlling the world, but in controlling the only thing that ever truly mattered: yourself. There's a deep kind of freedom that most people never touch. It's not found in money, or status, or power over others. It's found in this: the ability to stay calm no matter what happens around you. To walk through the chaos, the criticism, the betrayal, and not be moved. Not because you're numb, but because you've done the inner work. Because you've trained your mind to belong to you, not to anyone else. That's what this journey has been about. Not becoming emotionless, but becoming emotionally sovereign. We've explored the roots of anger, the lies of expectation, the weight of perception, the grip of old triggers. We've talked about how some people manipulate, how others provoke, and how the world rarely acts the way we want it to. But through all of that, one truth remains unshaken. You are the master of your emotions. No one can disturb your inner peace unless you give them permission. And with awareness, reflection, and the wisdom of Stoic philosophy, that permission is yours to take back. Moment by moment, breath by breath. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to react flawlessly every time. You just need to stay committed, to keep showing up for yourself, to pause, to reflect, to forgive, to choose peace over pride, calm over chaos, presence over pain. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, if you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your judgment about it, and it is in your power to wipe out that judgment now. Let this be your reminder. The world will test you. People will push you. Life will throw shadows across your path, but none of that can touch the stillness you build inside, unless you let it. So walk forward with calm strength. Keep your center, and remember, your emotions belong to you, always.